1975. The United States of America. At first glance, nothing feels unusual. Quiet streets, ordinary houses, a normal morning in an ordinary neighborhood. Nothing here suggests that history is about to begin. The whole world is talking about technological progress. New machines are emerging, older limits are being questioned, and innovation is accelerating faster than ever before. The future feels close, but still undefined, yet no one knows the two young men who are about to change everything. Steve Jobs, a visionary, driven by ideas, meaning, and the future. And Steve Wozniak, an engineer, driven by logic, precision, and a love for building things that work. Where others see complexity, he sees elegance.
Let's check this connection again.
Yeah, I think this solder joint is flaky.
Steve Wozniak explains ideas not with words, but with schematics. Every line here has meaning, every mistake is visible. Day after day, they keep thinking, testing ideas, forming hypotheses. They are no longer talking about schematics. They are talking about the future. One convinces and pushes forward. The other doubts, tests, and stops at the details. Between them, tension. And it is exactly there that strength is born. Sometimes an idea comes unexpectedly, from someone else's cover, from another person's attempt. It is not an answer, but it is a sign that the direction is right, and in that moment everything begins to come together. Not just to build a computer, but to make it accessible, to make it a part of everyday life. Steve Jobs speaks with confidence. He already sees what does not yet exist, and that confidence begins to outweigh doubt. The decision becomes inevitable. The decision does not look heroic, just a handshake and a silent agreement to try. It is an ordinary house in an ordinary neighborhood, and it is this garage where a legendary story will begin.
All right, lift on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, watch the step. Are we setting?
They set up their workspace with only the essentials and then begin to prepare. Steve Jobs arranges the components carefully. Every object has to be in its place. Chaos gets in the way of his thinking. Steve Wozniak begins working with the soldering iron and the board. He works in silence, fully absorbed in the process. Microchips, wires, fragile connections. It is from details like these that the future begins to take shape.
Try connecting the power lead right there.
Okay, let's see if that stabilizes the current.
They work day and night. They're exhausted, but they don't leave. Slowly, daylight begins to appear outside. Time has passed, but the solution still isn't there. A look from the outside, his mother. She insists they can't keep pushing themselves like this. But for them, what matters most is winning this long-awaited victory and reaching a result. And then, a mistake, a brief spark, smoke. Wozniak stays calm, Jobs is tense. Every mistake pushes the result further away, but they keep going. The keyboard is connected, one cable at a time, slowly, carefully. The screen is still dark, too dark. Silence, waiting, and then light appears. The first lines of text. In that moment, they realize they've done it. Steve Jobs looks at the screen. In his eyes, realization. Steve Wozniak reacts differently. He smiles. They sincerely congratulate each other. Their sleepless nights haven't been in vain. Now it's a shared mission. An experiment begins to turn into a product. Something much bigger has already begun. In front of them, not an idea, not a schematic. This is already their product. Steve Jobs begins preparing the computers for sale. He carefully places the board into a box. And then, the store. The bite shop. They walk inside with a box in their hands, not knowing how this will end. They look closely. They test. They doubt. The board lies on the table. It's examined in silence. Skepticism is felt in every look. The computer is connected, powered on. A moment of silence. The screen comes to life. Doubt turns into interest. Careful recognition. The manager leans in closer, looks again, and then a decision, a handshake, the first order. In that moment, they realize this is no longer an experiment. Steve Jobs marks the result. 50 computers sold. Steve Wozniak checks every unit by hand. There's no assembly line here, only responsibility. The garage fills up again. Boards, keyboards, screens. There's more work than space. The phone rings. Jobs picks up the receiver and realizes demand is growing. The tension finally releases. Laughter. A brief moment of joy. What once seemed impossible is becoming real. A name appears, an image takes shape. An apple. Newton. The idea of knowledge and discovery. The future is defined simply, the personal computer. And somewhere, on an empty wall, a sketch appears. Not a logo yet, but already a direction. The work doesn't stop. Steve Wozniak is already thinking ahead. A new board, more advanced. It's the next step. At the same time, the approach begins to change. The first attempts to look like a real company. Others begin to join them. People who believe in the idea and are ready to work alongside them. The garage grows tight, too small. It's time to move forward. Boxes are carried out of the garage and into a new office. Small, empty. For now, there's nothing here. But it's in this space that the next stage begins. Steve Jobs speaks about the future once again. This time, not just for two, but for others. People listen carefully, with interest. And somewhere, far away, their names are heard on television for the first time. Two young men are changing the world. Now, it's confirmed. Not just for them. The newspapers are writing about it. The story gets a name. It's no longer a guess, it's a fact. Late at night, they sit by the garage again. No conversations, no plans, exhaustion, silence. They don't fully understand yet what they've started, but they can feel something important has already happened. An ordinary house, a quiet street, a small place with big consequences. The world changed here. April 1976. Apple was born in a garage. Today, it's a different scale, a different world. But the beginning remains the same. The light in the garage fades into the light of the future.